Hey, everybody, ignore my shirt. I'm not a public menace. It's just the only shirt that fits me. I wanted to give a quick update. Happy holidays, or welcome back to 2026. 2025 was quite the ride. I wanted to, now that we're basically half the way in, or I forget when budget was approved, like June, July, August. We're like 4 or 5 months into the budget process. Just want to clarify where the open source committee is on things, where our programs are, decisions and changes of scope that have happened, and use this as the initial icebreaker until we get formal documentation done. Um, Needless to say, we've had our work cut out for us between doing budget and everything else with operations and open source. And with the onboarding of new committee members, getting caught up to speed and figuring out how all this works. It's easy for me since I was an architect behind it, so I can speak possums all day long. Um, but so first things first, I'll go ahead and share screen for this fun, wonderful thing. If y'all are curious about this, the page, it's on under the open source committee. We've made a whole page directly responsible for the paid open source model, where things are. And this will give you the original details, the video on the concept, the white paper, and the proposal as it was listed, and then the actual program names. And then here is like all our actual programs and active updates on it. So I'll go ahead and just start off where we are right now. The maintainer retainer, probably the star spotlight behind this program. Basically, what we're trying to do is we originally scoped for 50 projects for 100 maintainers. The scope of that and the demand kind of wasn't there because it would only do a retainer for 6 months. So we decided to cut the scope of the projects in half. That way we can give the maintainers contracts for 12 months and ensure a longer term sustainability rather than you just get the gears running and then its funding stops and then you lose the interest. So that was a OSC decision that was done, I think, in September, October timeframe. And we got community consensus on that roughly via some Twitter interactions on up and down vote, and then anyone who joined our meetings. And the OSC decided for that scope change. The other thing that happened for this was probably in November, right before the committee changed hands or the new people came on board, was we decided instead of it just being community maintainers, and that adjective community just means an outside maintainer with the skill sets we're integrating into the project, is the owner category, which is the people who have been working on the projects from the get-go, who this is to sustain keeping them around. And it's only focused on the specific maintenance aspects, i.e. their daily interactions with the project, keeping it up to date, documentation, governance, sub processes, stuff like that. Anything that's feature development, that's available via the other funding mechanisms, but this is keeping that tribal knowledge and those people there. And kind of also hits that maintainer retainer aspect in the title. So this was agreed by the OSC, and currently where we are with this program is we've had probably 13 to 14 people apply. 9 of them, all of them did their OSC interviews. 9 of them were agreed to move forward. I believe 7 of these folks have the project team interviews if they haven't done them already. And then they do a month trial of culture integration with the project. Then we sign a contract for them to start for that 1 year cycle and integration. The owners, we have 2 of those who have applied. Since they're already in the projects, there's no sense in doing a trial process other than the OSC interview, and project team interviews make no sense since they are the project team. So those 4 individuals will just move forward into contract status for this program. And we also do have listed here, this is the moving forward on this, on the maintainer retainer page. If anyone project wants to apply, you can apply here. And then if anybody wants to apply to this program to serve as a maintainer, this is here too. That community maintainers tab also works for the owners of the projects. But for the projects that we have agreed to support, the rough list is here. We are trying to update this in the coming days related to who's serving on these projects and then who's available, what seats are available. So we do have 7 more project slots people can apply to right now, and we need to update these figures once the interviews conclude. But these people have asked how are these projects determined? These 11 were determined based on, for core Cardano, since we steward it, we worked with the IO teams to see what projects were willing, or project teams had the availability to integrate, and or projects that were lacking community participation and governance on a better level. So considering this is a pilot program, we decided to start with some that would be critical projects and then some on the periphery just to see how impact would go. And we'll be tracking the stats of that via our Bitergia platform. So that's how these were determined. The rest of the projects are open to community nomination and or the projects themselves self-nominating. So we will communicate with those projects if someone nominates them or the project nominates themselves. But essentially, no project gets on here unless the OSC reviews it and the project agrees to participate in this program, because bringing in people to interact with your project, there's different levels of involvement and access and stuff like that to work out with these projects. But that's why we have this program set up the way it is. But that's summary notes. Applications are live. There's 9 maintainers moving forward, and we have 5 or 6 projects that are being supported right now. And no contracts have been signed yet. All that should be started by the end of January once all the interviews have been concluded. The Code Forest program. This one is basically think Bug Bounty, but for feature development. So we will be integrating using GitHoney. We just signed a contract with TXPipe to use that based on the OSC decision to use that platform. And basically, we have to finalize the process doc and make sure that this is up to date. And then we will open applications for projects that want to be incorporated and or OSC determining what projects will be incorporated from the Intersect side. And the idea behind this is if a feature is needed to a specific project or the community wants a plugin, or there's not necessarily funding applied to, or if someone on their feature roadmap, this desired feature is not incorporated, what this is to put up a bounty for that work to be done. And it's open to the community to go and put in a PR that solves that feature inclusion. If it gets merged, you get rewarded. So this is to help stem some of that periphery things that are nice to haves that are not being done on projects out of Catalyst funding or other things. So we will work on this, and this is the final program for us to get scoped out entirely. Tooling and sustainability. So basically, we are re-coordinating how this works. We already have 6 interested projects so far. The tooling working group is meeting every Friday to work out the process. I think we just finalized our process documentation, and we're going to start the demo piece. But anyone who's interested for this and how it works is you come in, you put together your proposed roadmap. We agree with what it is, make sure that there's funding with it, and then you execute according to that. And basically, there is a 3-phase process. If you have interest, you fill out the form. There is a self-attestation script that we ask each project to run. It's just to give a quick highlight on your repository where your open source best practices, things to improve as we go throughout it. Then if you get selected, you'll be invited to do an evaluation and a demo. I present to the OSC and the tooling working group, or the OSC members in the tooling working group, what you want to do, and we will review that, go from there, make a selection and funding, and then come up with milestones and work it out that way. But here's some guidance bands for things that we're doing and the scope and stuff of the program. Nothing's been done on this yet. We're just finalizing documentation, so expect more on that. Bug Bounty. This is self-explanatory. We will be managing this with GitHoney. We did just sign a contract with TXPipe to incorporate this via GitHub directly. We're just making sure that there's a privacy disclosure feature, so whatever gets reported isn't, when you get rewarded for that disclosure, it doesn't announce to the world what that vulnerability was. So once we get that going, we will start doing it that way. Right now, we're doing a manual process until that feature is developed. But this focuses on node, intersect, maintained, or sponsored repos within what makes sense, i.e. this is treasury money funding this bounty, therefore it needs to be related to core ops. So don't expect us to be spending it on intersect websites, etc. But this is live, and we will be doing rewards and those payouts here shortly. We have collected things from 2025 that we will get going here in 2026. Incident monitoring. Basically, this was to professionalize how we handle incidents. As everyone knows, the piggy chicken incident that happened. Currently, I'm serving in a capacity as a security manager. We needed to offload this to someone more technically capable and help coordinate a more robust community-centric approach or decentral approach where we're not reliant on sole vendors to lead these efforts and reconcile. But that way we have a advisory assisting here and someone who's more in line with these pieces. So we have done several interviews with some folks. Given what we do have budget for, we had to compromise at least on time commitments, and that individual will be onboarded here shortly, and we will announce that. But I think we're good to start getting up training and professionalizing the process, the tools, fire drills, things like that, to actually start making Intersect more of a security leading body when it comes to core ops and coordinating our vendors in a decentralized manner to handle these things. The next one, project support services. This is live. We do have $75,000 associated to funding and helping projects that has not been utilized to this point. So with the service offerings, the open source office and our strategic partners are offering, nothing cost-wise has been utilized here. All the projects we've been able to do within our own current admin and or skill sets of staff in-house. So we have 13 projects in total we've supported, and some of those are just as simple as spotlight marketing videos, things like that. So we will try to do more marketing on this for people to take advantage of it. If not, this may be a line item we don't include in a future proposal. It's just basically built on supply and demand. So the accelerator program, the scope changes that have happened here, originally we were trying to figure out what we do to help partner with projects and support them. We will be partnering with the Venture Hub more closely with the Cardano Foundation, but what we will be doing, at least from the Intersect side under this, is doing our little workshop series is the best way to put it. So we focused on doing 3 different types of workshops that'll be done 2 or 3 times throughout 2026 on 3 different topics. So the first one is cost for Cardano. This is trying to teach how open source projects turn into commercial open source software, or open core as the term is, or different licensing guides, how you come up with a business plan for your project and try to build in your own sustainability model into that project. Rather than having to rely on things like the POSM and or Catalyst or the Treasury to sustain your project. We are trying to build self-sustainability, and that's kind of the theme of this year. The second one, pretty straightforward, associated also with line number 1, is investor pitching and fundraising. Basically, Workshop 1 will teach you how to get a business plan. Workshop 2 will teach you how to get a pitch deck and fundraising opportunities and prepare you for that and tie into future ecosystem programs. And the third one is based on whatever your product is. This is to help you outline a product review, technical assessment, and market fit. And the idea is if you have all 3 of these, you've hit the core things you need to be able to get in front of VCs, go through a Venture Hub accelerator program more in depth, and start hitting those next target things to getting funding and building your project to be more sustainable. So that's the idea behind this. And basically, the workshops will be over 5-session series, give or take, 1 hour a week over a month and a week. And that's to help you. It is required the projects do their homework to participate. Otherwise, they'll be dropped from the program, just because this is very intensive and it's for their own benefit. We're not going to facilitate stragglers who can't keep up with the program and have the intent to do so. So do expect more out of this and the partners associated with it. OSC travel and events. This didn't happen. We'll update this page. There's a few events and a few things 1 or 2 OSC members attended. This is just for them to get more commitment and be able to travel to represent open source. We are going to focus heavy on 2026 on getting some evangelism going in different places and utilize our partnerships, Linux Foundation and others. So do expect more out of this. It's just based on time commitment of the OSC to do so. Developer advocates, these guys are live for 3 months already. They got 6 more months on contract. We already do have several meetings that they facilitate. The DevX working group, they have a website. They're doing several training things and they're here to support projects. So they're already golden. In this program, as of November 6, 2025, we decided to drop it. The idea was doing a summer of code, but for Cardano. We may revisit that in the 2026 budget, but as of right now, it's going back to the Treasury. We just needed scope and time bandwidth to figure it out. And if no partners come together within 2026 process, we may, it may just be up to someone else to put it together. But currently right now, the OSO cannot lead this initiative or the OSC. So we're leaving it up to other people who would be of interest or pitch the idea to them. And that, in a nutshell, is where we are with POSM. So let me figure out how to stop recording. But thank y'all for the support. We'll get more details associated to specifics of where everything is, and I will be available for questions. The OSC is here too. You also have techs. So if y'all want to know where anything actively is, just let us know, and we'll be happy to clue y'all in. Thank you.